We interrupt your morning broadcast to inform you of breaking news. The serial killer, now widely known as God's cursed child, has struck again, this time targeting a church in Crowley, Texas. We are getting word that 5 people were pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect, still unknown, is at large and is said to be armed and dangerous. Police are investigating and urging the public to come forward with any information that may lead to the capture of this individual. This appears to be a personal vendetta against God. At this time, we don't have any further information, but we'll continue to update you in regards to the happenings of this matter.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned, and I fear there is no going back. Please begin. Well, growing up, I never had a father. He was a cop, you see, and died in an attempted robbery gone wrong before I was even born. And my mother was extremely ill while I was a kid. So, my youth was spent taking care of her, acquiring odd jobs that supported us, that paid for all the medical expenses. Medical expenses that I find myself currently drowning in since the passing of my mother. The past few years have been hard on me, and I grew tired. Tired of what? I grew tired of worship. I grew tired of faith. On countless occasions, I have thrown my hands up. I have prostrated. I have worshipped and strayed away from sin, all in the hopes that an all-powerful being would hear me and answer my prayers. Instead, I received a father that was violently taken from me, a mother with cancer, who would also be taken from me, and a vast darkness in my soul. It felt as though the more I prayed, the more misfortune would befall me. Eventually, time passes and I stop going to the sermons. God tests each of us in mysterious ways, and it is those he loves most that he tests more frequently. Perhaps it is that God loves you. Have you ever thought of that? So, that's what I'm supposed to believe, that God is testing me. That's supposed to make it all go away, all the pain just disappear, I suppose. You know, I can still hear her, my mother, laying on her deathbed, connected to a million tubes. One to help her breathe, another to help her eat, and another to help her defecate. I had stayed over one night to be by her side. Imagine the feeling of absolute terror when I wake up to the sound of her having a violent seizure. It was as though something was possessing her. I stood there, hopelessly watching as nurses rushed into the room. She suddenly stopped, shaking, and She flatlined right in front of me. Tell me, should I have come crawling back on my knees to God? I'm sorry you had to go through that. I pray that your mother is amongst the angels. We all waver in our faith from time to time, whether it be a trying test or just losing that connection. However, God helps them find their way back, as He did with you. After all, you are here, confessing. There is still hope. Yes, I am confessing, but not for losing my faith in God, but rather to have you relay a message to God for me. After what I've done, He will no longer listen to me. Though, it's not like He ever has. I am listening. After days of mourning, I eventually learned to speak to people without breaking down. I went back to work and I found myself stuck within this mundane cycle. Life. Work, eat, sleep. Work, eat, sleep. Work, eat, sleep. I could no longer afford my medication, and thus my depression worsened. I felt as though I was a shadow within my own body, present at times, but mostly not there, under the cloud of misery that followed me around. Then, 3 weeks ago, without knowing how, I found myself with a shotgun in my hand, pointed towards my chin as I sat on a chair, plastic wrapping covering the floors and walls of the room. I threw the gun down and sat in a corner, hugging myself, afraid of what I could have done to myself. The thought of my brains splattered onto the walls, replayed over and over and over again. But even more so, the thought of how long it would take for people to find me hit me even harder. For the next 3 days, I woke up to find myself holding the gun. On the 4th day, I was finally ready to accept it. I was cursed. Ever since my conception, calamity and misfortune is all I've known. In that moment, finger on the trigger, I finally realized who I was. I was God's cursed child. The gun dropped to the ground. The cloud of misery from above me lifted, and for the first time I felt warm rays of light showering me. It was beautiful. And that's when He appeared to me. Who? Oh, just another cursed creation of God. You call him Lucifer. He appeared to me in the form of a beast. His skin was red, as though bleached from the flames of hell. His eyes ecliptic, that of a black cat's. His teeth like that of a lion. His aura radiating in like the sun. I gazed upon him, not in fear, but in awe. He then spoke to me. He said,
"Will you let him win? Will you submit to his will?"
And that's when another realization hit me. yet again, awakening me for a second time. God was not satisfied. He took my mother and father from me, and now it was time for him to take me. The torment was his way of tenderizing me, and now he would feed on me. A frown began to form. I balled my fist and looked to Lucifer, and I responded, "No." He then stretched his hand out for mine, and I reached for his. I was born again, with a new purpose, with a new understanding of life, with a new God. One that speaks to me, one that I see.
Tell me, has he told you to do anything?
Yes, Father. Yes, he has.
Has he told you to hurt anyone?
The first one was the hardest. She was young, maybe 25. I had to study her for a while before choosing her. She was deeply devoted to her faith, gave charity, was modest, the most kind and precious person. Unfortunately, this also made her perfect. The perfect casualty in my war, in my crusade against God. Well, your God. Slowly clipping off her fingers and appendages was difficult, but it prepared me for the next. And the next one after that.
I think I understand. You blame God for the calamity in your life, for the thoughts of suicide, and you're on a mission to get back at God through taking away his followers that are well in health, life, and in faith.
Yes. Don't you see the irony in it all? He very clearly cursed me and wanted me dead, but I've lifted the curse and placed it on him, and by the flames of hell, I won't stop until I've slowly dwindled his following, weakening him and destroying the idea of God as you know him to be.
This is over. I'm calling the police. You are lost to God. Your soul is forever tarnished and destined to be tormented by the fires of hell.
Ah, a servant of God passing judgment as though they are God. Sit down and listen, or else my disciples will pay your daughter, Elizabeth, a visit. Yes, we've been watching you for quite some time now.
Okay, just don't hurt my daughter. She is an innocent.
Oh, but aren't we all sinners, Father?
Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. It is not too late for you. Perhaps I misspoke earlier. It is never too late for any of God's children.
And you, a saint, will deliver a message to your God. When you see him, I want you to ask him why he has forsaken you, O loyal servant of God.
God's cursed child strikes again, this time at a church in Virginia. The victims this time is a priest and 3 other individuals within the church. Investigators have issued a statement earlier today expressing that the serial killer may not be acting alone. Again, we urge you to stay alert and please report any information you may have to the authorities. May God have mercy on us all.